Welcome everyone to Discourse. That's Abel.
This is Tony.
And today we're talking about Ready Player 2 by Ernest Cline.
All the track stations are ready.
Ready Player 2, let's see what this book summary says. An unexpected quest, two worlds at stake. Are you ready? Days after winning OASIS founder James Halliday's contest, Wade Watts makes a discovery that changes everything. Hidden within Halliday's vaults, waiting for his heir to find, lies a technological advancement that will once again change the world and make the OASIS 1,000 times more wondrous and addictive than even Wade dreamed possible. But with it comes a new riddle and a new quest, a last Easter egg from Halliday hinting at a mysterious prize, and an unexpected, impossibly powerful and dangerous new rival awaits. One who'll kill millions to get what he wants. Wade's life and the future of the OASIS are again at stake, but this time the fate of humanity also hangs in the balance. And I think that's what makes it different from book one, right? Like book one was just a contest to determine whether or not somebody became the owner of the OASIS, essentially becoming rich. But this one is a little different in that there's an AI of Halliday, the same anorak that was the administrator of the first Easter egg hunt. It was an AI. It was supposed to go away, didn't go away. It stayed around, and now it's kind of like a demented AI that holds people hostage and forces Wade to complete the Easter egg hunt in the second book and give him all of the shards that he finds in the Easter egg. So that way the AI can be like all powerful. That's essentially what happens, right?
Yeah, or at least that's what we thought. That he was trying to make Wade collect the shards to have like all control and power of the OASIS, right? Since he was so cynical about it.
Wade doesn't know that there's another Easter egg hunt, right? So he's super rich. He has everything he wants. He's the administrator of the OASIS. And then...
Well, not just him, right? It's the whole high five team. Well,
one of them dies in the book, but
correct.
The one that dies in the book stays alive in the movie.
Correct. Yeah, because they made a movie of Ready Player 1, and now I believe there's a Ready Player 2 in the works. But Daito, who is he's not the actual brother of Shoto, but in the OASIS they got close. They became like big brother, little brother. Daito, he dies in Ready Player 1. What's that evil team, like the main
IOI?
IOI, yeah. They find him, the real life person, and they throw him out a window, and he dies in the book. But in the movie, they keep him, keep it more kid friendly. So they still call themselves a high five, but in reality, it's just a four. And together, it's Parzival, Artemis, H, and Shoto that become the co-owners of Gregarious Simulation Systems, right? GSS, like board members, you could say.
Yeah. Owner of the OASIS, board members, bunch of teenagers owning a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong, but everyone else,
Not that there's something wrong with it necessarily. I'm not saying teenagers can't own a multi-billion-dollar company. I'm just saying that you would probably want to have some delts around to make some decisions.
Yeah.
Because they obviously, not all of them, but I think Wade obviously makes a lot of bad decisions.
Yeah, like the first three chapters?
Yeah, the first three chapters is basically Wade telling us what happened in between him winning the last Easter egg hunt and up till now, which I think is like a couple years, right?
I believe so.
And he's telling us everything that's happening, and he says that people have been talking a lot of trash to him online, and he doesn't take that very well, so he hunts them down in the OASIS.
With anoraks, like
with
the robe?
Yeah, the robes of anorak, which makes them invincible and invisible, and he basically just assassinates a bunch of characters that are talking crap about it.
It's like getting a hater on Instagram or something, and then you find their account and like delete them completely. And they can't trace it back to you. I think some tried. But since he has like all the lawyers in the world, he just denied it. They backed it up, and yeah. So in short, he became a dick.
Yeah, right? He became an asshole. Who would have thought? You give a teenager billions of dollars and a lot of power, and he becomes a dick.
Yeah, but he was dirt poor before, so it's kind of he doesn't know what to do with all that money.
Yeah, obviously because he buys Halliday's old mansion, right?
Yeah.
And then I think he removes a bunch of stuff in it, but doesn't really know what to do with it. So he just kind of lives in this giant mansion with a bunch of empty space. Oh, he lives in there with empty space because he has this AR goggles that fill the empty rooms with a bunch of digital stuff.
Yeah.
right?
It's kind of sad, but I guess it's fun for him.
You
Yeah.
don't have to buy new furniture all the time, I guess.
And most of the time, yeah, those first 3 chapters are rough because it's all on him, like sad about his life, all this pity and hate and being a douchebag.
It is
You
a bit of a pity party. He's like telling you how he's both a jerk and a jerk to his girlfriend, which I had agreed he was a jerk to her.
And they broke up. Who would have thought?
Well, that was surprising in that they were like madly in love at the end of book 1, but at the beginning of book 2, he explains that now with all of this extra stress and responsibilities of running gregarious games, they're I guess we didn't explain that there's like a new technology now in this book, right? Because before it was just the goggles and the gloves and you can move around in a virtual world, but now there's a new technology that turns this game basically into the Matrix, right? And now you can taste things and feel things.
Yeah, using all the 5 senses, hear, touch, see, taste.
And that changes like the entire game.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, and he comes across it by accident, right? He goes with Anorak's or the robes of Anorak. He could go into his tower where he's the only one allowed to go in there, and he just stumbles upon what was it, like a Easter egg looking thing that kind of opens up.
A physical Easter egg, but I
Yeah.
think that's what happens. He says that shortly after he won the game. Oh no, not shortly after, or
Like a few
sometime
days.
after, he goes
Few
back into the game, into the tower with the robes of Anorak, and he notices something that wasn't there before. It was another Easter egg that has coordinates to somewhere in the real world, which was a laboratory inside Gregarious
At the
Games
headquarters, yeah.
that had this new technology that they hid from the world that basically makes the game like the Matrix.
Yeah, it's called the ONI system, the OASIS neural interface.
Yeah.
And neural because it's like you could say it's like a helmet type thing. You put it over your head and it straps around your head and pretty much hacking into your nervous system. So when you get into the OASIS, you could experience everything like you could in the real world. And there's a warning right before he logs in. There's like kind of like when you get some prescription drugs. This will solve your headache, but you might get diarrhea. You could die. You could
That would be funny if like the neural interface gave you diarrhea, so they had to log out occasionally and just like go
clean
to the
themselves.
bathroom. But no, I think the side effects were no side effects really, right? You just can't be logged in more than 12 hours.
Yeah, they put a limit.
And you can't lose power in the middle of your game, and you have to power
Correct.
down so that they can basically reconnect your brain to your body.
Yeah, that's why I think it has backup batteries, right? Just in case it went over the 12 hours. And there's that limit for a reason. There were tests done before. So who knows? There might be like a community of...
Yeah, so who was the test subjects that then determined that you can't log in more than 12 hours because they get, what is it, spontaneous brain syndrome or something like that?
Yeah, they just become like...
It was called synaptic overload syndrome, I think it was called.
Yeah.
Some made up mumbo jumbo.
You
But
become a vegetable.
Yeah, you become a vegetable, you go crazy. So you can't stay logged in more than 12 hours. And I immediately knew that was going to be the suspenseful aspect of the book later on, right?
Yeah.
You can't go past that 12-hour limit. I was certain after chapter 1 that was going to be one of the aspects. And it turns out that was it, right?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
That was the deadline that they were always running against
12
towards
hours.
the end of the book, right? Was trying not to be logged in more than 12 hours.
Mm-hmm. And there's only one at that time. Because of the warning, it's... I think Halliday tells the heir, which is now Wade, to you either destroy it or you share it with the world and mass produce it, sell it. Which, knowing Wade, he lives in the Oasis. He doesn't care about the real world, which in the first book, it's going to shit, right? So a lot of people hide in the Oasis. And the cool thing about the other board members, Artemis, H, and Shoto, is that they, except for Artemis, but the others, they start like their own families, they get married, or they got like girlfriends, and they use their money wisely to, improve Japan. Or Artemis goes around the world and she does like a...
She's like a humanitarian. She gives away a lot of her money and helps people.
Mm-hmm. So, but Wade, he's just stuck in his mansion all day, all pity, all crying, and...
Yeah, I didn't really. It didn't click in my head that he was really like a shut-in that just tracked people down that was talking garbage to him online.
Even
and everybody else, you're right, was a lot more positive with their outlook and their.
They became productive and shared They're,
And they become
it's-
happier for it, right? They're essentially happier people, and Wade is more bitter. So you were saying that Halliday then left it up to his heir to determine whether or not they were going to release this new technology,
Correct.
and him releasing this new technology is the reason why Wade's girlfriend leaves him, because she wants to keep it a secret and not release it to the world, because she knows that people are just going to dive deeper into the
Because
Oasis.
it comes into a vote, right? He can't make a decision without the board members.
So they all vote, and she's the only one that votes not to mass produce it, and everybody else agrees they should, because the world is shit and people need an escape, I guess.
So one of the positive things that they shared with all the board members was that a lot of people that are hungry or poor, they could experience like eating steak or smelling like food
I've
at
never
fancy
eaten
places.
steak before, so I'm gonna try it in the Oasis.
So that was a good thing because it'll take them away from hunger. When I guess it's good. You know, I never tried like, you know, fancy lobster or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you get out of the Oasis, you're still hungry. You know, but they try to hype it up with all this stuff, which I guess it helps in your mindset, not go crazy and sad.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't actually feed people; it just gives them the sensation of eating.
yeah, doesn't fix anything.
Right? You don't actually have money; you just have money in the Oasis, so it's not actually solving any problems, and
Yeah.
that's what Artemis's overall problem with this new technology is that she wants people to focus on the real world and solving problems in the real world, and Wade and really all the board
else.
members just agree that people should have some kind of escape.
Yep. But she's the only one that says no. So they start mass producing it,
Yeah.
making billions of more dollars.
A lot of more money.
Jeez.
They're in charge of more stuff. Wade and the High Five are now building a spaceship in space to go explore different planets
Yeah.
because they know that Earth is being destroyed. They're building more artificial intelligence.
That's true.
Yeah,
No, I just started thinking it's kind of like Jeff Bezos and
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. It's like one wants to stay on Earth and fix it, and the other one wants to go off to Mars.
Oh,
You know?
yeah. He's like, no, this is already burnt to the ground. Let's escape. So, in the middle of Wade trying to patch things up with the High Five and his girlfriend, the AI of Halliday comes back. And no, that's not true. I think what happens first
never left.
is they reach a certain limit of people logged in with the new ONI system.
Yeah,
And
active
then-
users 7777777.
Yeah. So when they have 7 million active users, 7 billion, something like that, a new Easter egg hunt starts where they have to find the 7 shards of the Siren Soul on 7 different planets. And each planet has its own theme. And the heir to Halliday has to pay a toll for each shard they find. And the toll is a memory that's played back of Kira Morrow, one of the
It's like the
creators, co-founder
yeah.
of Gregarious Games, a creator of multiple worlds that are in the Oasis. So then begins this hunt, which Wade starts to look for, but kind of half-heartedly, right?
Yeah, because only anyone could look for it, although it's shards, but only the heir, which is Wade, could actually grab one. And he's having trouble because, as we mentioned, he's not all there.
Yeah.
You know, so he has trouble. He doesn't want to ask for help.
He's
and-
struggling. He's struggling emotionally with his rich and powerful lifestyle.
And his ex-girlfriend, he just can't get his mind off
Yeah,
her.
losing his ex-girlfriend. So I think we should mention that too. Like in the Oasis, with this new technology, you are now able to record experiences that you have, and that includes, taste and touch, and all of those things that go along with the experience. And then people can play it back. So they sell those as like some kind of like disc files. What is that?
Oh, yeah, I forgot what it's called, but I would imagine it's kind of like we upload videos on YouTube or experiences like a snowboarding or skydiving, and someone else, a user, could actually log in and feel like they're the ones experiencing that firsthand. You could feel the waves, you could feel the air and everything,
Yeah, so that's the kind of experiences that's the, toll that he has to pay, is experiencing these things from Kiramaro's past. And
Yes.
even
Yeah.
that helps him find future shards.
Yeah, and he experiences them as Kira herself.
Yeah.
Like from her point of view, which is weird to him because when this technology was created, or when he first found out about it, Kira was already dead. So how is she able to record her experiences, right? It's like the question throughout most of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now the high five, Wade especially, and his girlfriend, because his girlfriend comes back immediately to help find the shards.
But why?
And
Why does she help? Why does she agree?
I can't remember.
It's like crazy ass anorak.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Dang, the biggest point of the story that pushes everybody to work together and find the shards is that the crazy AI came back and is now holding everybody hostage. Everybody in the Oasis.
Yep.
They cannot log out. They're about to hit their 12-hour limit and go crazy. So now the high five needs to find all the shards before that 12-hour limit.
Yep. And he doesn't explain why he wants them to look for them. He just wants to correct all the shards. They're assuming to revive Kira. That's his ex-love, because they don't really explain this in the first book, kind of, but not really. But Kira, Ojimoro, and Halliday were best friends before Kira came along. And then she hung out with them as friends. They used to play Dungeons and Dragons together and all that stuff, help them out with, making board games and everything that led to GSS. But at the end of the story, Og, he's the one that falls in love with her. She falls in love with him. They get married. But Halliday just could not get over her.
He's like super jealous.
Super jealous and kind of like a stalker, you could say.
Yeah, because he's super jealous and socially awkward. So he doesn't really know how to bridge that gap and explain to his best friend, explain to this girl that she likes him or that he likes her. So it gets really confusing. And he's like a super genius.
Yeah, it's just
so
scary.
he makes this technology that maps people's brains, and he basically maps this girl's brain, Kira, and creates an AI of her in the Oasis, right?
But she could only come to form and be fully active when they find all the shards.
Yeah, because he broke her into pieces, because apparently when you take a copy of somebody's brain and digitally recreate them, they still have all of the emotions and memories of that person you copied, and that AI was still in love with Ogden instead of Halliday, and Halliday tried and tried and tried in the Oasis to make her fall in love with him, and it just wasn't happening, so he locks her away.
Yep, but now he wants her back.
And that's what this hunt is about, finding the shards so they can unlock the AI of Kira Morrow.
And he's willing to kill everyone in the Oasis to get that done.
Because he's a computer, he doesn't really care about humans.
Yeah. Which never really got that part, because everyone still loved that Halliday guy and, Anorak. If he would have just told Wade, hey, I hope you find the shards as long as you let me...
I feel like he could have went about it a better way.
Yeah.
Pretending to be their friend. And all along the way helping them find it, and then at the end doing like a double cross and then stealing everything. That seemed like a better plan than the one he had, which was to not help them all but still threaten them and make them find the shards.
Yep, because when Parzival, Wade, found all the Easter eggs and became the new heir, he didn't know that Anorak was supposed to pretty much delete itself, like the AI. But he found a way to change his code before that happened, and that's why he's still there. Yeah. But he didn't know that. Wade didn't know that, so he could have easily been manipulated or just say, "Hey, find these shards. I'll help you out. It's a new adventure."
Yeah, new adventure. I'm the admin. Go find them, right?
Yeah.
And then he helps them along the way. So instead of helping them, he's like, "I'm not going to help you at all. Good luck. I really want this, but I'm not going to assist you in any way."
Yeah.
So now the high five have to work together, and they go to 7 different planets that have their own theme, right? The very first one they go to, I think, is a planet of Halliday and Ogden's hometown.
Oh, is that with the arcade where they first met Kira?
Yeah, where they're playing in the arcade and the pizza place. So the first and second planet I felt were like very similar, because the first one was their hometown in the 80s, I believe it was. And the second one was a recreation of a bunch of John Hughes movies all thrown together. And
that dragged on a little bit too.
That dragged on ridiculously long. And it was about John Hughes this and John Hughes that. So they go to different houses from different John Hughes movies, Pretty in Pink and like Breakfast Club. And they meet different characters from those places. And they even get to meet the writer himself, right?
Yeah, when he first wrote, what's that movie called?
Was it Pretty in Pink? Or he was writing something?
Yeah. So he was the
16
in
Candles,
the early
maybe?
ages, maybe, but it was the early version of him.
And yeah, so they meet him in person, the digital recreation of him, and they're like super excited to meet this digital recreation of John Hughes. And I'm like, what? It's just a computer. That's like going to like Disneyland and being excited to see an animatronic of like Abraham Lincoln or something. It's not that exciting. So why is he wetting his pants to see this digital recreation?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I do know that at the very end of that chapter, I was so done with John Hughes.
Yeah. And it got a little annoying too because they were in that time limit. They were like in their last 2 hours and they're freaking out over this guy asking them questions and just...
So they pick and choose when they want to be in a rush, right?
Yeah.
Like they're like, oh my God, we're running up against the time limit. There's millions of people that are going to die. We have to hurry up and do this. Oh, but isn't that Robert Downey Jr. over there? Maybe we should go talk to him.
Yeah.
And remember this bit of backstory on John Hughes? That's pretty interesting, right? Oh, I forgot. There's millions of people at stake. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
They always do that.
Yeah.
Even so, after the John Hughes planet, I believe is the Prince planet. There's purple rain everywhere.
Yeah.
Everything's purple. And it's basically a collection of all of his different concerts that he played at.
Yep. And that one dragged on a little bit too. Especially at the end, they had to fight 7 versions of Prince.
Yeah.
From different costumes or get-ups from his...
I felt like it was more
years.
creative. But yeah, you're right. At the end of that chapter, I was so done with Prince.
Yeah, because H, who in the book, she's lesbian... She was freaking out about Prince. She goes there all the time because I guess Prince represented the gay community,
too. Like,
right back then.
Yeah, I get that she really likes Prince, but she says herself that she goes to that planet a lot, which is why she's valuable in this moment.
Yeah.
So when she goes back to the Prince planet, probably for the 100th time, why is she still geeking out about it? I don't understand. Like, shouldn't you have already experienced it? Shouldn't Wade have already experienced it, seeing how he spent so much time in the Oasis? I'm sure that he at least had to go to the Prince planet at least once.
Yep.
So I wasn't really sure why they kept geeking out about stuff that they've spent plenty of time exploring.
Geeking out or H correcting the other members about things that they got wrong or don't insult this song about my red Cadillac or whatever.
Yeah, again, we're in a rush. People are going to
Corvette.
die. But don't you dare talk crap about this song, and let me explain to you why.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But the fight was pretty cool.
The fight at the end was pretty cool. You know what this adventure reminds me of? Like going to the different planets and seeing all these different characters. It reminds me of the video game Kingdom Hearts. It's where like all the Disney characters and you go to the different Disney worlds and you see all the different Disney characters in their worlds and you interact with them and do quests. Yeah, it's the same thing. Like you're a character, fish out of water kind of deal, and you go to these planets and it's the nostalgia that really sells that video game.
That's true.
Just like it's the nostalgia that really sells this book. If you're into John Hughes and
Prince.
But after that, they go to
Middle Earth.
They go to Middle Earth.
No.
But there's 7 planets. So we got 2 of them down. We got Prince. We got John Hughes. That's 4. What's 5, 6, and 7?
There was one about for children. It has like an educational world where they have the Muppets.
But you see what I mean? Like I completely forgot about that planet because he spends almost no time explaining it. Not nearly as much as he explains John Hughes and Prince.
Correct.
It's like, oh, here's a bunch of characters. The land is very colorful. Let's move on.
Yeah. But even that one drags on a little bit too because he starts to cry. My mom and I used to come here all the time.
Yeah.
He picks up his little kid backpack.
He's randomly having a flashback about his mom. I felt like that should have been in the very beginning of the story that gives you emotional connection to the character, not at the end of the story. I don't need an emotional connection anymore. The story's almost over.
Especially when it's all suspenseful. They just killed so many hours talking about Prince, and now they're trying to rush, and they're taking forever.
It's a very weird setup with Wade because, again, you said it. Like, he spends the first 3 chapters explaining how he's a jerk to everybody and a douche. And he basically is. He goes through no character evolution throughout the story, right? He's basically just back with his friends, learning a bunch of facts about John Hughes and Prince. And he doesn't actually do anything to redeem his character.
That's true.
Right? Where I felt like he should have been more involved in the solution to the problem and in so doing, like, becoming a better person. And we only get emotionally connected to him in that character planet because he has some flashback with his parents and his mom. And I almost felt bad for him, but then I remembered, oh yeah, he's a jerk. I'm not going to feel bad for him. So after the character planet, they go to... Was it Lord of the Rings planet after that?
Yeah, I think it was Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, based on what I believe is the first age, before the Hobbit, second age, and before Lord of the Rings, the third age. I believe. I believe that's the correct order. But yeah, they go back to Middle Earth because Kira and Og, that's one of their favorite movies, their favorite books. They actually built their mansion based on one of the elven, like
Elven castles, kingdoms, or something like that.
the kingdoms there with the waterfalls and up in the mountains, which is pretty nice and it costs who knows billions of dollars.
Yeah, they got the money to
Yeah.
blow, and that's what I feel like this novel loses its creativity in trying to reference so many different things. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool that you rebuilt Rivendell, but couldn't you have built something more unique and interesting and different instead of
Yeah. Or like a combination of Rivendell and I don't know,
a
something
combination
else,
of
right?
something or something different?
Yeah, so it's like nothing new, like really.
Yeah,
Man, Wade's
and
a
that's
douchebag.
basically what this book is, right? It's like nothing new from the first book.
Yeah.
It's basically a recreation of the first book with a lot less like motivation for the characters, because although people are at stake, they just don't seem motivated to solve the problem.
Correct. They do and then they don't. They do and then they don't. So it's back and forth,
Yeah.
But with Wade, I think I mentioned this to you before. It's like him being a douchebag and not knowing how to use the money properly. Kind of reminds me of the Rocky series. Rocky 1, Balboa. He's dirt poor, doing what he can to, survive. And then he takes on the champion, goes the distance. In Rocky Part 2, you get to see him struggle with this new fame that, Wade has himself. Everyone knows him. They know where he lives. They know what he did. And he just doesn't know how to really react to it, And he realizes that he's
That's
not
funny,
like
that's-
this person that everyone thinks he is, which adds to his sadness.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a good comparison. I didn't think of that before.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Rocky fan. You're a big Rocky fan, I guess. But yeah, that's a really good comparison.
Yeah, and he doesn't know what to do with his money either. So, that's why I continued with the book. I accepted that part because he's just a dirt, poor kid, never been in this world before. And now he's thrown into it and forced to figure things out.
Yeah.
Not necessarily run the business, because thankfully he has, other members in the headquarters that take care of everything for him.
Yeah, he has administrators and stuff like that
Yeah,
that manage the technology part of
Yeah.
it. But I felt like he was, I don't know, I just didn't feel like he was a strong enough character to carry the story. He was in the beginning
Yeah.
because he was just a kid trying to beat the system, right? This massive system. But in this, he is the system. And there's really nothing he's trying to defeat other than this AI that forces himself into the situation. So I think one of the really creative aspects of the very first one was all of the references to 80s pop culture.
Yeah, and the music.
And I really thought that we would do something a little bit differently with this novel, like maybe reference a different age or something like
Maybe
that.
90s or something. But
Yeah, a different decade, something. He does make some references to like The Matrix and things like that, but it's still just a bunch of references to the 80s and early 90s. So really the creativity and the nostalgia that we had for the first one is already faded, and I really wanted something different from this book, but it just didn't deliver. It delivered all of the same stuff it delivered in the first one.
The only more unique thing is this new Ani system, how it allowed people to log in for 12 hours. Of course, most kids are, and adults I guess, are going to log in for those 12 hours. And what Wade and no one expected was when they put on this headset, their body goes to sleep. So they're immobile. They can't do anything in the real world for all that time they're in the OASIS. So what started happening was people were breaking into their homes, stealing their stuff, abusing them, killing them, and even some people got raped, and they couldn't do anything because, they're submerged in the Ani system. So it started happening a lot. And just remember, this world's already gone to shit. So there's marauders and whatever
Yeah,
outside your home.
Poor, desperate people everywhere.
And they know once you're logged in, you're useless. So this started new businesses. They started making immersion vaults, right?
Vault,
Which is
yeah, it's like a coffin.
yeah. Wade has a mobile one that has guns and cameras and
Yeah, like it's like an assault ship that like has its own legs, like a spider, and has like cameras and motion sensors and machine guns and All kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Because he's a millionaire. Why not?
Yeah, it seems ridiculous, but he does use it towards the end of the book, which is pretty awesome. And this also started a new business, which is like a Motel 6 for Oni users.
Oh, yeah.
You get to go to like a motel. Instead of a full-on room, you have like a little closet, with
just those coffins they lock themselves in.
With an Oni system, and you could pay a fee to be in there for, I guess, 12 hours or however long.
12 hours, yeah. So they have to go to the bathroom at some point, right? Do you think they put like catheters in or something? He doesn't really explain it, but yeah, I imagine you have to have a catheter in both ends.
Yeah, and for the motel, like a freshener, like a car freshener.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
they would need to wipe it down afterwards.
Yeah, seriously. I don't know, even to the more extreme stuff, like this Oni system, I think Wade got to experience it out of curiosity. He wanted to see what sex was like in orgies, being on the other end, both as a woman and as a man.
Yeah, because I think he says
all.
He says at first that he just does man on woman, right? And he
Yeah.
experiences that kind of sex, and then he gets bored with it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so he tries different variations of that. So yeah,
And this is online. And when you're playing video games, sometimes the games crash or something happens, it starts switching, right? So what if there was like a glitch and he's experiencing gay sex for like the first time, and the systems are like error.
He's like, "What's my safe word? I gotta get out of here.
I
There's
don't
a
like
glitch."
this anymore. So it's like,
Jesus Christ, that's gotta be terrifying. Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it happened to someone, but
There's obviously glitches in there because that's what happens with trapping everyone. There's a glitch.
And this is still based off internet.
Or it doesn't even have to be a glitch, really. It just has to be an experience somebody recorded that could have been like just man on woman, perfectly normal. And then all of a sudden, bam, somebody jumps in and just starts taking you from behind, man. That's gotta be very scary and rough.
Yeah. But that's the scary thing about that Ani. Man,
it's a scary thing about the Ani experiences, and that you just leave your body behind in the real world, and it's like vulnerable.
Yeah,
Or you're experiencing horrifying things about this experience.
Yeah, it's horrible. And I think he even experienced like death and other stuff. I don't know. It's just...
You can experience death. You can experience drugs. You don't have to actually do the drugs. You can just experience the emotions of it.
That's true. So that part was interesting, but I don't think it really expanded much on that. Right.
Yeah, I mean, he was again. This is all given in summary, like all of these things happen. Which, in writing, you really need to show people things and not just tell them things, right? And that's what he spends the first 3 to 4 chapters doing. He spends it telling us all of these amazing things that the Ani system allows people to do. Where it would have been way more interesting having him go through the OASIS, experiencing these things, and we're as readers experiencing them with him.
Correct.
But instead, we're just giving a bunch of information in 4 chapters, which is so drab.
Sometimes too much. Like it dragged.
It dragged a lot. And then it was weird because he would go through chapters of just plain description, and then he would get into moments of like where again all of the 7 princes were fighting, and that was so dramatic and interesting. Contrast that with 3 chapters of just explaining what John Hughes' world looks like.
Yeah. Serious. And towards the end, it seemed like he just rushed to end it. Like there was a final battle between Og and Halliday. Their
cool.
Characters in the books and the game series. I guess their board games back in the day. And this is something that a lot of their fans always wonder, like, will the great and powerful Og defeat the great, Anorak wizard?
Yeah.
And they finally got to battle. It was the AI of Anorak, not the actual Halliday controlling it.
Yeah.
But still, it's the 2 like unstoppable characters. And
that was like, it was a very interesting end to the book. But you're right, it was very short. It was like half of 1 chapter.
Yeah.
And then after that's resolved, the story essentially ends, right? Like there's one more chapter at the end saying happily ever after, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So
Z and Artie get back together and they live happily ever after.
Yeah, right. They get back together. She was so mad at him in the beginning, but she quickly patches that up, and there's nothing to be said about that. And she frustrated me throughout the story too, because she tried to help them through the John Hughes world, but she kept like not wanting to tell them her plan. She had this amazing plan to solve the problem and find the shard on the John Hughes world. And everybody was like, great, what's your plan? She's like, no time. let's hurry up and solve this problem. I can't tell you what my plan is because we're running out of time. Great, let's go. Oh wait, isn't that Robert Downey Jr.? Let me stop and explain how this John Hughes world all connects with all the different John Hughes movies and all the different John Hughes possible scripts and possible characters. And isn't people going to die if we don't hurry up? Oh yeah, I don't have time to tell you my plan, so let's get out of here.
Yep.
Where she could have just told them the plan, and they could have just all went off in different directions to solve the problems of the plan, and then came back together.
Yep.
Would have saved way much more time.
Yeah, that would have taken seconds. One cool thing about her, she survives a plane crash.
Oh yeah, she's kind of like Rambo, right?
Yeah.
Because she's not logged into the OASIS with an Ani system. She has the regular goggles because she doesn't want to try the Ani system.
Yep. So that was a cool part.
So she has an opportunity to stay in the real world. She gets trapped on an airplane by the AI, and then she
because of course the airplane is controlled by
AI, of course. Yeah, even in the real world, you're still controlled by computers. But then she ditches the plane and just jumps out with a parachute.
Yeah. And the plane tries to crash land on her.
Yeah, so she jumps out, lands, and then she has to dodge the plane that's going to come in and crash into her. Yeah, she was kind of badass.
So that was badass. Then afterwards, she just talked too much, and she fell in love with, Wade again within 12 hours, which is...
yeah, that's really weird. I guess it could, but it's really weird for hating somebody for that amount of time, and then just quickly resolving it and falling in love with them again.
Yeah.
Again, possible, but just he didn't make me believe it, right? The writer should have made me believe that they had another emotional connection. Instead of just, again, telling us they had an emotional connection.
Yeah. So just two other things real quick that I thought was cool but should have been expanded more. Maybe they will in the movie or in the future book. Is there's a sword called the Dork Slayer that Og creates for the sole purpose of killing Halliday's, AI, which comes up, but they don't really expand too much about it. They just guess that they had issues in the real world, so he created it.
Yeah, they said that towards the end they didn't trust each other, and with AI becoming very important, they had some idea that AI was going to be used against them. Yeah. So they just took precautions.
Yeah, at least Og did. Yeah. And the other thing is the low five, which is like a new school version of the high five. There's a bunch of kids, 5 friends that get together, and they actually help.
They help the high five find
with a lot of stuff.
They help the high five find one of the shards in the beginning. They're missing throughout a good portion of the middle of the story, and they show up at the end of the story and become very critical. Actually, you're right. They find that sword.
They find the sword. They find like a journal that has a lot of. It's like the game.
It's the Dungeons and Dragons journal of Kiramaro that has notes that can be used to find the rest of the shards.
Yep.
So yeah, they become very critical, but we hear almost nothing about them. So you're right. Maybe it's like a different story that he could write.
Have their own book.
Or have their own book, or have their own show or movie. But they're fairly interesting from what I saw.
Mm-hmm. So hopefully they expand more on that team. But what would you rate it?
Oh man, I really loved the first book, and I think I would give the first book like 4.5 stars. But this one, Ready Player 2, just because it's lacking creativity, just because the writing doesn't deliver what I thought it would, I'm probably like 2 stars.
Oh shit!
What would you rate it?
Yeah, that's very low. Yeah, for me it was interesting enough, and it was a little bit different, even though it reminded me of like Matrix, Terminator, all those movies where the AI tries to take over. I would say at least a 3.5.
All right, it's okay, I guess. If you really like that kind of stuff, those references, it's all right. Yeah. I just wish the writing was better.
Yeah, not dragged on so many areas where you didn't need to, and where all of a sudden time just stopped. People weren't about to die.
Yeah. So let us know your rating in the comments. Let us know what you think about this book. Let us know how wrong we are and how amazing this book is. If you like it, leave it down below. And if you like this video, subscribe.